what's up? Now, today we are going to be talking about this particular thing right here, which is the Hidizs AP80 Pro Max. Now, this is the direct successor to its previous model, the AP80 Pro X, and there's already objectively a few upgrades that we can already benefit from by just, getting this particular model. And currently I've been using this for close to 2 weeks, and my overall experiences of it personally is extremely positive. This thing is retailing for $240 US, but y'all can get it for a cheaper early bird price of only $149 US on Hidizs' website via Indiegogo. So for people who are interested, y'all can find out more below. And also Christmas is coming around the corner, so for an extra $20 US for people who want to spice things up a little bit with their colorway, y'all can get it in the Christmas edition colors, which is either red or green. So once again, links in the description down below. And once again, thank you Jesse from Hidizs team for sending these my way, but all thoughts and opinions are of my own. Now, coincidentally, I've also purchased a DAP a few months ago, which is the Hidizs R6 III. And just looking at the size, you can definitely see how crazily small this thing actually is. I think I'm just gonna take something else. Okay, I think I'm just gonna use my iPhone so it's easier. Everybody knows the size of this. This is a 17 Pro. This is the Hidizs. As you can see, it's only a little bit bigger than the protrusion up here. So, thickness wise, let's just ignore this. It's definitely more or less, it's actually more or less the same as the raised protrusion. So yeah, it's literally one iPhone 17 bump big, kind of like that. Despite it being small, it has quite a good heft to it. It's fully made of CNC aluminum, and also it has dual glass faceplates, so definitely you will get that quality sense of touch and feel. And also, this is just one thing that I want to remind everybody. The one model that I have is having an exclusive brand new version with Linso. So for anybody that is purchasing on Indiegogo, it's all the same from hardware to software. The only difference is one cosmetic difference, which it has no Linso branding. That is it. Anyways, going back to the build, not much going on top, nothing on top except for a nice faceted design. On the sides is where you'll find all your buttons. You'll be having one scroll wheel, which also acts as a lock screen button. Now, some people are mentioning that this thing is a little bit wobbly, but personally, I don't find this to be, any significant issue. At the bottom, there is 3 ports. One is the bidirectional USB-C. So like I said, you can use the AP80 Pro Max as a DAC itself, or you can use it to power dongle DACs as well. 3.5mm right here. And last but not least, this, in my opinion, is the best upgrade so far. Yes, the AP80 Pro X has a balance, but it is out in 2.5. This being 4.4 makes it so much more convenient for, I think, pretty much everyone. Because back then when I had my Co. 1 Plenum, I need to use this right here for even balance, which is a 2.5 to 4.4. One more extra thing, more inconvenience overall. Okay, let's just quickly run through the spec sheets, which I'll highlight a few more important things. First of all, this thing is running a dual ESS ES9219C Saber DAC. So having ESS DACs, you can definitely see where they are going with its sound quality, which we'll cover later on. Other than that, it is not running Android, it is running Hidizs OS, which in my opinion is still quite a very, very smooth OS, despite everybody, kind of hating on non-Android based DAPs. I personally don't find any issue using this at all. There's not really any sort of lagginess or anything other than, when you are using streaming, which might also be because of connectivity issues. And yes, I did not say that wrong. For this small piece of equipment, you have streaming. You can connect to Wi-Fi and you can stream via Tidal or Qobuz, which I'll get to in a little bit. There's also Bluetooth in here, so for people who want to test TWSs, you can also do that. And oh yeah, like I said, it is also Hidizs OS, so definitely you get to have a few good things out of Hidizs. You get Hidizs Link, which you can also make the Pro Max as a streamer, and you can also use MSEB and PEQ. And in my opinion, I think the PEQ in here is a little bit more intuitive for most people rather than the one in the Hidizs R6 III. We kind of covered everything generally. Let's dive a little bit deeper into streaming, which I feel like it's quite an interesting thing out of this. So if you want to stream, you definitely need to press this thing right here, which is Stream Media. And once you press it, you can see there's only Tidal and Qobuz. No Spotify, sadly. So for people who are using Spotify, you're out of luck. but definitely still a lot of people use Tidal. So press this. You can see this is where it gets a little bit different. There's not your usual typical Tidal UI, but you're getting its own version of UI, basically extracting data from Tidal itself. So pressing this, sorry I can't see it that well, you get new tracks, and it is basically like a list, which is a little bit weird for a first-time user, but after it for a while, you're fine. And in terms of searching your stuff, you will be getting this, I don't know what's this called, but I literally just called it a nostalgia keyboard, and just type along the way. Kind of a little bit of a tangent, but I kind of think some people don't really know how to use this keyboard as well. I think it's nice to honestly have an extra feature in here, and you can definitely use it. But personally, if I'm getting a DAP, my main rationale for getting it is mainly offline files. So this is definitely a plus, and I don't think it's anything bad whatsoever. But for people who buy this specifically for streaming, yeah, that's really not the main reason why you're getting a DAP. I forgot to mention one more important thing: upgrade in battery life. Now this thing, compared to the last model, which only has 800 milliamps, this thing has 1300 milliamps, which is claiming to do around 8 to 10 hours off of balance. And personally testing it for quite some time, I could say the claim is honestly quite there. Now, in terms of the EQ that is baked into Hidizs OS, for people who use it, they definitely know about PEQ and MSEB. To put it simply, MSEB is basically the very simplified version of an equalizer, so that for people who are seeing this right here, it is already labeled to, let's say you want something that is more warm, you want to have the bass to be thicker, you want something to be a little bit more crispier. Everything here is already labeled as it is, so people can navigate and do whatever they want with very good understanding of what they're doing. And for people who want to do more customization, y'all can go to the PEQ right here, so that y'all can have a little bit more out of it. Personally, I am more of a fan of this because there's definitely a bias because I mix music, so I know how to use this, which is a little bit more advanced. But for most people, this will definitely do the trick. This has a learning curve, which I think some people might not be a fan of. This is not. This doesn't need any learning curves. Just pull the thing and experiment with it. And oh yeah, one more important thing that I want to address is also the fact that this thing does not have internal storage. And for first-time users, definitely they might feel a little bit bummed out. So for people who are getting this, definitely remember to get an extra micro SD card. Okay, so I think we covered almost everything. So let's go down to the most important thing of why you bought a DAP. How does this thing sound actually? Now, using a dual ESS Saber, all I could say is that this thing, out of the box, first impression, giving me almost 85 to 90% similarities as using a Questal M15, which begs to differ. That thing is also retailing for around this MSRP. Why do I want to get that when I could get this and I could also play things with this? While the M15, I need to have a separate source with it, if you get what I mean. But yeah, basically dual ESS chipset provides a very good level of refineness, a good silky and crisp resolution that you could only get from more higher tier chipsets. It also provides a good amount of dynamics and musicality whilst maintaining all of its technicalities. In terms of the tonality, this thing overall is also quite neutral, but sometimes it might be because of the fact that it's a little bit more refined, it's more smoothened out in some areas. Certain areas might sound a little bit pseudo-warmish, if you get what I mean. In terms of how does this thing affect the low end, ESS overall has a more uncompressed approach, so it overall makes the low end sound less compressed and more room to breathe. Bass notes overall also feel more punchier, they also feel more intimate, but not feeling bloaty, not too in your face. It just feels more, close to you, more personal. Bass notes also get a little bit more amplified, a little bit more refined throughout the spectrum of the low end, but it does not, overdo the amplitude. It still maintains it as well. Dynamics on the lower end are also quite good. Everything still maintains a good amount of fluidity and good amount of bass definition. Now moving on to vocals, which I personally feel like is the highlight of any ESS DACs because it basically improves the tonality as well as the experience of how you listen to the vocalist. Basically, it provides a good amount of body to the vocalist despite it being, regardless of it being either male or female, and overall, it also has a more organic and a more natural presentation. Sibilance, totally none. There is no sibilance at all. Going on to instruments, same thing like always. crispy, resolving, refined. Everything is more or less, being upgraded in a way where things are packaged to be more premium. But among all the things that I've noticed, vocal ensembles and guitars are the most important ones. Vocal ensembles, they feel the most prominent in terms of, it being able to engulf you into the moment, giving you the most ambiance in the track. And in terms of all the instruments, like I said, guitars, string related stuff overall provides, I would say, the best amount of resonance and harmony in terms of the overtones that it provides. Moving on to the upper mids and treble, presentation on this is overall smooth and crispy at the same time, if it makes any sense. I think the best way for me to summarize this is that the M15s overall have a more shimmer to it, like a glassy shimmer shine to it. This thing is overall still having that thing, but overall has a more sharper edge to all of the treble. Only sharper, but not sharp to the point where you can feel like it's a little bit fatiguing. It's just, more crispier. But yeah, upper mids and treble are basically along the lines of that. And the one most interesting thing that I like is the insane resolution on the upper mids and treble. Hi-hats, in my opinion, are the most significant ones, where I can literally hear every single waveform going like tss. I can hear the waveform literally just vibrating. That is how clear this thing can do. Treble extension, in my opinion, is decent. Some people want a lot. This thing has a natural amount, a decent amount, not too much. So you're still getting a good realistic level of experience with it. Now, in terms of technicalities, I think I'm just gonna breeze through this very quickly because, ESS, no complaints whatsoever. Dynamics, quite good all across the board, regardless if it's low volume, medium volume, or high volume. Soundstage, in my opinion, now, this is where I really want to highlight this. This thing, honestly, just out of the box, really sounds wider than the M15. And yes, it is wider than the M15, but for what you're sacrificing for width, it does not have that deep of a reach than the M15. But regardless, I would definitely prefer something to have more wideness than more depth. And in terms of how does it maintain everything in terms of resolution, on the far ends, there is no distortion or no fall off in terms of detail and clarity of every single thing in the track. Imaging and separation is also quite good, quite up there. Nothing really much for me to complain. And last but not least, detail retrieval. It's ESS. I don't really have to explain anything more. It basically refines everything. It makes everything have a more crispier edge to it. It makes everything have a more resolving sound to it. That's all there is to it. So with all that being said, my final thoughts on this is, ignoring the fact that this thing is currently on an early bird price, even if it's MSRP $240, it's the same price more or less as an M15. And why would you want a DAC that needs to have another source powering it when you can have almost 85 to 90% of that level of technical prowess whilst being able to play on it itself? So, I think for that slight 10% trade-off, which personally comes down to also, personal preference at this point, because for what you're trading off a little bit, you get to use an independent standalone DAC, which is very, in my opinion, very worth it. So with all that being said, my overall experiences with the Hidizs AP80 Pro Max is quite positive. The more important thing that I really want to highlight is just no internal storage. So for people who want to get this, just make sure to get an SD card, and you're good to go. I think I'm just gonna wrap this up. So thank you once again, Jesse, for sending the AP80 Pro Max my way. For anybody that is interested, it's live on Indiegogo right now for a limited run of only $149. So get it quick. Maybe if you guys want another pair of IEMs, the MK10s are quite good, the MK12s are quite good. Just get whatever you want. They are currently doing quite a good amount of deals around there. So, check them out. Thank you for watching. See you guys in the next video. Have a good day.